why you've got a whole thing of fruit in your office.
Sure.
Right.
It's Mike's
Good
fault.
afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the October 23rd special meeting of the City of Muskegon's Planning Commission. We have a few items on the agenda today. First of all, may I have roll call, please?
Commissioners Willett Leroy,
Here?
Johnson, Montgomery Keast,
Here.
Seyfarth,
Here.
Gowron,
Here.
Keener,
Here.
Mazade,
Here.
Blake,
Here.
and Simmons.
Here. All right, thank you. We have a quorum, and then first item is approval of the minutes. The minutes of September 11th, 2025. If I could have a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes of the regular planning commission meeting on, wait,
September 11th.
September 11th.
Support.
Moved and supported to approve the minutes of our previous meeting, September 11th, 2025. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed say no. All right, and then we have two items on the agenda, public hearings. First, item A, case 2025-38, request to rezone a portion of the property at 560 Mart Street from Waterfront Marine WM to Waterfront Industrial PUD by West Michigan Dock and Market Corp.
Yes, the applicant is requesting to rezone a portion of the property, which is located on the other side of the fence as depicted on the attached map. It's proposed to rezone 23.5 acres of the 43.5 acre site to WIPUD. Once WIPUD is put in place, every approved plan must come as a PUD, so the applicant would then be allowed to apply for a PUD under that zoning designation. Currently, there are port-related activities taking place in this section of the property. Although they are considered legally non-conforming or grandfathered, this would bring them into conformance with that for this new zoning. This project is related to the property swap project that everyone may be familiar with. We included some videos and some depictions of how that would work, and staff is recommending approval of the project. This helps us, this whole land swap project would help us accomplish many goals that we have been planning for over the past several years that are in our master plan and our Imagine Muskegon Lake plan that are noted below, and that goes for both cases involved in this project.
Okay, so firstly, we're going to open this up to a quick discussion on the commission, and then we'll go to public comment. So do I have any questions as of now?
My question is more of a mechanical question. You mentioned that this would be waterfront industrial PUD, and then it would allow for the property owner to apply for a PUD. But how does that work with this property when there's already uses on the property that would be compatible with the zoning?
Yep.
So go ahead.
Sure, that's a good question. So they are grandfathered in for what they are doing now. Any other use that is allowed in WIPUD that they are not doing, they would be required to.
So if the property owner, assuming that all the uses currently on the property comply with the new zoning requirements, if they do nothing to change that, then they don't need to
Yes.
do anything with the
Yes,
PUD?
that's
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
Any questions on this side? Not as of yet. Do we have a list of what those current uses are that are grandfathered?
124.
It's in the,
Are you you're not talking about what is allowed. You're talking about the current uses.
current uses that we're
Yes.
saying are grandfathered based on the time frame.
Yes. Shipping of aggregate is the main use.
It was
on the site.
Was it in here?
Yeah,
Scott can probably talk a little bit more about their operations.
So, as Mike mentioned, storage of aggregates that are brought in by vessel and trucked out is one of the larger uses. We have silos on site that are leased out, that the company brings fly ash in, stores it, hauls it back out to job sites. We occasionally have large cargo projects. You may remember a number of years ago when the big windmill blades came through. Different activities, like barges that bring in stone used for revetment, things of that nature.
And so then, I think the question basically lies with the new zoning opportunity, what the differences are. What uses, if nothing changes, if there was no additional agreements or purchases or sales, the new potential uses.
Yes, the new potential uses are all spelled out in the zoning ordinance excerpt, which is included as WIPUD. So there are
Starting on page
19.
13.
There are 19 permitted uses with some accessory uses to those, and there are 10 prohibited uses listed.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to have those kind of readily
And-
available.
Sorry, I forgot. Here, I
for the
pulled it
discussion.
up on the screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing, so at this time, I will allow any members of the audience who would like to come forward and speak to this item to do so.
Of course.
I didn't know that was happening.
Good afternoon. My name is Jake Ekholm. I'm the Director of Development Services for the City of Muskegon. I really just wanted, and I'm sure our fantastic planning staff already put it in there and will reiterate, but set all the potential Third Street redevelopment and land trades and stuff aside, had MartDoc come to us, those of us that work here now in this capacity, and said, hey, you know, some years ago we were rezoned and this kind of prevents us from doing additional business operations on this site we would like to do. We would like to rezone to industrial PUD. We would have entertained that request through a planning and zoning application and likely recommended approval because it's consistent with existing uses on the site. So just wanted to add that bit of context. There is all this stuff going on out, and this is part and parcel to that, but this is something that had you set all that aside and they had made this request, I think we likely would have recommended approval in any case. So wanted to give that context. Thank you.
All right, I am not seeing anyone else in the audience, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the phones for public comment. 231-724-6721. Just a moment or two. Any calls coming in? No? Okay, thank you. Right. We're going to, I'd request a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Oh, support.
Moved and supported to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Thank you. All right, so to continue some discussion, if anybody would like to motion on this item, we can do so.
I move that the request to rezone a portion of the property at 560 March Street from Waterfront Marine to Waterfront Industrial PUD be recommended to the City Commission for approval.
Second.
Moved and supported. All right, do I have any additional questions, comments, concerns? Go ahead.
Maybe just a clarification. Based on what Jake just said, it's my understanding, and maybe I'm not correct, this action is independent of the land swap, right? I mean, regardless of what happens there, if this is approved, right?
That is my
Correct,
understanding.
yes.
Okay, correct.
All
Yep.
right,
Yep.
thank you.
That was my understanding as well. So there was some, basic discussion, and as we have an additional joiner, I think he has some perspective on that. But the question here is this use approval consistent with our current master plan and intentions for the downtown area? And so obviously there's a land swap in front of us and a discussion, which I keep saying that word, but I'm told it's more of a purchase understanding than an actual swap. So it's not that this is being traded. There's just a group of agreements together. And so I think the question when it comes to zoning is, should this property be zoned based on master land use plan, or is it possible to make it contingent? And that was a question. Did you get a chance, Mike, to see if?
We discussed that a bit.
Yeah, so staff had a discussion about whether there should be a contingent rezone or not, and my inclination would be no. And the reason being is that the property owner still has to come back with a PUD approved site plan to do any changes on the property. in that as we were looking at how this would work in the larger context of the discussion we're having regarding Fisherman's Landing and Mart Dock, one of the reasons that staff agreed to have this discussion earlier in the process is because if the agreement was to not go forward for some reason, this gives Mart Dock the ability to continue their port operations in a way that's similar to what they desire to do at Fisherman's Landing. So this is just helping to move that process along. They still would have to come back for a for the actual PUD, but if it was conditional, I think that adds another layer there that would be that would just kind of complicate things. They can do what they've been doing for decades on this site as it's currently set up, and then this just allows them to do what they would have been doing there if the zoning hadn't changed in the late 80s. And this, this was a question that's come up from the public: is why can't they do what they want to do at Fisherman's Landing on their own site? This would allow that if those things weren't to go through. So, but because they have to come back for a PUD layout anyways, that is sort of a conditional rezone in and of itself.
The list back on there of the uses. I just had a quick question. And forgive me, sometimes it's difficult to get to these on the current system. Okay, so if we scroll down and just look at the uses that will be essentially included in this industrial option, none of these mention residential. All right. So my understanding is that in the event that Mart Dock retains this property, and they're looking in the future to do some kind of residential mixed use, will we need to rezone at that point?
Correct.
Again?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. That was my main question. Mm-hmm. Did you have any additional comments? We missed our first round. Yeah.
My observation or commentary with regard to the current request or question as to whether or not to rezone this the waterfront industrial PUD district is that I don't think it aligns with our existing master land use plan, and so from my perspective at the planning commission level is not to support this, with the caveat that when it comes to the city commission, I have a different more latitude and a different lens to look at it, and so there may be an opportunity or that position could evolve at the city commission level. But from a planning perspective, given what our master land use plan and the long established vision of consolidating this east end, which is actually spoken to in this, if you go to the preamble, it speaks to it being consolidated on the east end and not allowing this elsewhere. And so then creating this elsewhere is directly contradictory to what our zoning says. And so given the language in the preamble, given our master land use plan, I'm disinclined to support creating this district. And I understand that it would have to come back for a site plan or a formal PUD to be approved. But once you create the district, you are essentially establishing some legal obligations and expectations that when you create this district, that at some point you will approve a PUD aligned with that. And given that contravenes what the preamble and our master land use plan says, I'm disinclined to support creating the district presently there.
I would disagree a little bit on that, and the only reason I would say that is because this property is a little unique. Their family has owned it since the 1930s. The grandfathering portion of it makes the situation a little different, even from my vision of what I'd like to see down there and the plan. It's probably in the best interest to accommodate what's going on there now, with the hopes that sometime down the road that'll change.
One more, go ahead.
Well, I was going to just respond that as noted, because it is non-conforming, legally non-conforming, the operations that they have continue and will continue. And in the event that we can't deliver on the vision of our master land use plan of consolidating on the east end, that's where I'm much more open to
Me too.
revisiting this and to your point, allowing their reconfiguration of operations where they exist now.
Yep.
But at this present point, I don't support the question at hand.
And so I guess that brings my question to, is anything contingent currently on this rezoning? Because it seems to be a matter of timing. My understanding is that there's a potential agreement in play, but has that been finalized?
Correct. So the way that the agreement is contemplated is that at the point in time that the agreement would be executed, the rezoning would take effect too. In order to do that, the Planning Commission has to look at it first and make a recommendation whether to approve or not approve to the City Commission. And it's really set up as a way that if things don't go forward, the property owner, Martok, doesn't have to come back to the Planning Commission, the City Commission, after they've already gone through all of this public engagement on this process and come back and ask the Planning Commission, the City Commission to make a change to their property after another agreement did not go through. So so the contingent on this is that this isn't what, in the absolute long term, in the perfect world of this agreement that we're trying to look at, whether you think it's a good agreement or not, would be that there would be mixed use development down here
Someday.
in the future, but that one of the olive branches that we were looking at in the negotiation discussions was doing this rezoning earlier in the process as an insurance policy that they could continue to operate their business in the city if they weren't able to relocate it.
He owns the property. It's his property.
One final item is, in the event that we're doing things differently than we might normally do. So my question is,
Very much so.
in the event that we do this rezone, the negotiations continue, and for whatever reason they don't materialize, do we as a city then have the capacity to request an actual additional rezone?
Of
Or is
this-
it?
I mean,
So 2 years
Yeah.
from now, because we've been having, I say that because
Sure.
we've been having these conversations for many years,
Yep.
right? There's been
Request
intention
it.
and plans and so on. And so 5 years from now, if there's no plan in place, and we're really, again, looking to ensure that downtown becomes not a full port and is very light use industrial at the most, do we have the ability to essentially request some new restriction?
Clarifying question that speaks to this to some extent.
Okay.
Because we were talking about contingency and the like. As I understand it, when we approve any PUD, there is an expiration essentially. If no action is taken on development in accordance to the PUD or the district, like it would disappear. But does that apply to a district as well, or just the PUD site plan?
I believe it would be the site plan. Yeah.
Okay.
So
that. Never mind then.
Okay, and I'm
Yeah.
only exploring these because I know it's a complicated scenario, and I just want folks to understand that we've contemplated
oh, sure.
12 ways to Sunday
Yeah.
that
And
this could be done.
and
right?
I think, to your question, Madam Chair, I don't think that, I mean, the city could certainly talk to the property owner and say, hey, we think we need to rezone this back to something else. The one thought that I had as the mayor was talking was, we did for lack of a better term, a forced rezone in the late 80s. And then, through the 90s, and all the way up to today, there's been multiple attempts to try to get this site redeveloped and find another location for Martok. And so I think, having the forced rezone in the future, even if it was, a request, might just put us in that same situation. And what this does is, in my mind anyways, is look at the property in a way that if this latest attempt isn't successful, and there's been some really good attempts over the past 30 years, if this isn't successful, it's in the community's best interest to allow the business to use their property in the way that it was originally intended, as a port, and they do own it, and we've limited them a bit because they're a grandfathered use, and one of the things with a nonconformity within a grandfathered use is that you can't make that nonconformity more nonconforming. So you can continue to do what you've done, but you can't necessarily do new things that you weren't doing at the time that it changed. There might be a little bit of wiggle room there, but you're certainly not going to rebuild the whole site and put containerized operations and things on that, because it wouldn't be just like looking at this list, bulk storage and cargo are are in different spots. And so, as are grain elevators and things like that. So they're different types of uses.
Is cruise ship considered part of the ferries?
I guess that would be up to the zoning administrator.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Cruise ships currently in the industrial.
Are they allowed?
I was just
whatever
gonna
the
ask.
equivalent
My
of
question
ferries.
is let's say, because we all want things to move along, some good result, but in the event that doesn't, and we look at what MarkDOT could be as it is, I would presume that they would want to continue to have cruise ships down there, which they don't currently.
Or
without additional.
would they consider hosting the cruise ships there?
My imagining when we talk about future of MarkDOT is basically some
Because I know we
version of
don't have
Navy
no
Pier,
space right now.
if you will, right? So it's people as well as marine items. So I was just curious if cruise ships would already be included.
That'd be a cool cruise ship dock. Saying.
I'm not seeing anything that would necessarily exclude them.
It says railroad and passenger ferries.
Yeah.
Why not,
I believe
right?
that would be a passenger ferry.
Okay. It's your interpretation
Fair
of
enough.
it. That answers my question.
Yeah.
Okay. That's where I'm at. Again, I just wanted us to be able to have a vision of what, in the event that nothing changes, what we could continue to engage with MarkDOT on that is more
Oh, sure.
akin to what our downtown needs.
Yeah.
And actually, if I may, Madam Chair, to kind of give some insights into some of the discussions we've had, I believe that they want to be good partners with the community, and even when they're looking at if something was to happen here that they would rather have at the other site, they would want to make sure it's complementary. And so I think that's a message that's been delivered. So I think you would agree with me, Scott. Or yeah, not to put words in your mouth, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's lakefront property, so it's got a lot of value to it. So who knows what they're going to want down the road?
All right. Any final thoughts? Yeah, okay.
I just want to be sure before I decide which way I'm going to go with this. So we're really just ensuring that this is not about the swap at all. Essentially, it's just about making this to where it's supposed to be according to our current zoning.
Right. So the landowner essentially has said, I'm hampered by my current zoning, and I don't therefore have the capacity to use my property to the extent that I would desire to have the option to do.
And if Mr. Mayor, if you could give a little bit more depth in how it does not align with the current master plan.
Madam Chair? Yeah, could you pull up the preamble? And then with regard to the master land use plan, so the two pieces with regard to that, because it says it's intended to promote the consolidation. Whoa, where'd it go? It says that waterfront industrial PUD district is intended to promote the consolidation of commercial port activities at the eastern terminus of Muskegon Lake because of its proximity to the interstate, established industrial uses, and isolation of residential zones. It further says the intent is to localize this district to promote symbiotic relationships among industrial port activities and discourage the expansion of such activities elsewhere along Muskegon Lake frontage. And so expanding it to this site, even though there is legally non-conforming use here presently because the city took action decades ago to move away from this type of activity here, is reverting course and acting in a way that's contradictory to what the preamble to this district says, but also what our master land use plan envisions, which was consolidating this activity on the eastern end of Muskegon Lake, not having it in the heart of our downtown.
Right.
That said, when I said from a planning perspective, I'm not inclined to support this request at the city commission, there's greater latitude. And what we heard from the manager a few moments ago was with this other development agreement that's being anticipated with potential deed restrictions tied in. And so we've seen a version presented to the city commission last month. I'll be interested to see what evolves and what gets brought forward to the city commission next month. And that's where there may be rationale for me to vote yes at the city commission on this, but no at the planning commission. But from a purely planning perspective, I'm a no on the request.
If if I could, with the master plan. In our last master plan, the previous one, the 97 plan, that was a very big goal to move everything to the east side of the lake. We did discuss that, recommending putting that into the current master plan, but we ultimately did not recommend that. I don't believe the current master plan actually states those words about moving it east.
Even though that would be ideal. But
There are
I hear you.
Is that for
a couple
safety
other-
reasons?
The intention of moving, you're asking about the moving the port to the east end, was that for safety reasons?
Yeah.
I think the initial intention there was, again, to allow different type of districts and uses, and that, again, there's imagining and conversation about creating a continuity along the lakefront, right? Where that one can travel along the lakefront from a great distance. And if we move port activity to the east side, it's really a terminus. It's an end of the lake, and so we kind of don't have that breakup. So that was really the intention, is to eliminate.
It's
That
also
makes sense.
because of transportation. The east end of the lake facilitates location that's close to highways, easy to get in and out. It doesn't disrupt the city center.
Oh,
So there's good reason behind
For the
that.
port perspective, there's other reasons, which is, they more access to the highway on the east end, and again, having all of their operations local to one another, their partners and other companies operating similarly is a benefit as well. So it all makes sense to everybody to move port operations to the east end, but it's a complicated.
Well, and then this
option, so.
property is a little different. It's been owned
You wanna
for a
get
long
along
time.
with-
Yeah,
All right,
so it's gonna take time.
last one.
I do see in the preamble there, I think the word that pops out to me is, to promote the consolidation. And I don't know if that means, at the cost of inhibiting, the current, landowner or the operation. They, by right under, grandfathering, can continue to operate as they have within certain parameters, the past 100 years. And as is, am I correct that should the property be transferred and or sold, that, as is, if there isn't a substantial change to the type of operation, it could be carried on,
correct.
even after a transfer or a sale. I know that we have a vision, but if the business has a vision of, potential improvement and expansion on a portion of the property, I think that we have to be careful if we're seen as inhibiting the property owner, who by right, can do that. Because we may have our visions, but they got caught up in a map, by our choice and not by theirs.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think that there's a balance there, right? Because we could leave all businesses to their own devices and we'd be in a very different place. So it's definitely a dance between, folks that we need who have investment in the community, and also the idea of quality of life and creating a cohesive community that has lots of different uses and opportunities. So I think we're all looking for a future that's different and better for everybody. I'm inclined to go ahead with this as it is, but again, we have other things in play and we expect that they will go accordingly. So, roll call, please.
Can I?
Oh, one more.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So, as I understood earlier, and maybe that's changed now, I thought I was under the impression that this is going to go through the normal course of action, and the city commission will take this up, and if it's approved, then it's approved, and it stands as it is, regardless, irrespective of what happens with the land swap. But I seem to get the impression that this matter is going to the city commission part and parcel with the land swap issue,
They're
or
going
is,
together?
Well, they'll be considered at the same meeting, but separate items.
Okay.
So if the rezoning wasn't to go forward for some reason, then that might impact on the developer side about the agreement. But they're separate items. They'll stand independently of one another and be considered independently of one another.
okay.
And so
To
just to add
clarify,
that,
though-
you should consider this as if nothing else will happen in the future. We need to
That's-
consider this accordingly. Yeah.
That's what I asked earlier, and
Yeah.
that was but then our discussion seems to indicate that they were part and parcel with
It's
each
a
other.
tool in the
But-
potential negotiation.
But it is, because in the agreement that was brought forward last month, it is prerequisite. This action is a prerequisite for the development agreement to move forward. So they are, in that mind.
Yeah, and
part
that, yeah,
parcel,
and
but they're
that,
two
but,
separate
but they're two separate
actions,
action items.
But they are
Yeah.
definitely intertwined.
Okay.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Azaid,
Yes.
Keener,
No.
Bowron,
Yes?
Pfeiffer,
Yes.
Montgomery Keys,
Yes.
Johnson,
No.
and Willette Leroy.
Yes. All right, so the motion is approved. We have a second item on the agenda. Similar situation, but different. All right, if I could get a motion.
I move that the request to rezone a portion of the property at 501 East Western Avenue from open space recreation to waterfront.
Okay, hold on. I pause because this is public hearing. Every time I do this, I apologize. Generally, this is a public hearing, so if I have anybody who wants to come forward, we're going to do a quick staff report, and then you'll have the opportunity to do so.
So this is the staff initiated request, which is a little more directly related to the land swap project. To rezone a portion of the Fisherman's Landing at 501 East Western to WIPUD to allow for port activities on site. Again, once the PUD zoning is established, the owner would be allowed to apply for a PUD for certain uses. So again, this is only a portion of the property that we're asking to rezone. You can see it on the map. I will pull up. It's the area in red. The rest of it would remain OSR, open space recreation. Would be open to the public. We would lose about 1.5 bays of parking, which is roughly 46 parking spaces, but the rest of that would remain open. Is OSR. And again, this request is related to a lot of our goals in the Imagine Muskegon Lake and the master plan, including cleaning up the shoreline, getting the Mart Dock activated for commercial use and publicly accessing the waterfront.
Do we have any other staff updates or discussion from the Planning Commission before we go to the public hearing component? We will come back to you guys after that.
I just have, just need some clarification on a little something. The camp there, it's still gonna be available for tournament, yes? So I don't know if I remember seeing in here, or I couldn't find, for a tournament, are they gonna allow temporary camping? Is
No.
temporary camping, so that will not be on the list? Okay.
Okay, this is a public hearing. If anybody in the audience would like to come forward. I am seeing none, and so then we will go to the phones. 231-724-6721. And it doesn't look like we have anybody calling in at this time. Take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved?
Support.
Moved and supported to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Thank you. All right. So any just final discussion on this item? One question I have. With a motion? I'll take it now. See, I thought I skipped that part.
I move that the request to rezone a portion of the property at 501 East Western Avenue from open space recreation to waterfront industrial PUD be recommended to the city commission for approval.
Support.
All right. Moved and supported, so we'll move into discussion. I have a question on the fact that we're rezoning a portion of this property. And so is that typical in that we can rezone not the entire lot, but simply a portion?
Oh, yes, we've done it many times.
Okay. And so has there been any consideration about the water's edge on the western edge of the property, what the expected use of the western edge of the lot will be?
Yeah, so actually in the PUD, in the development agreement that we've most recently been discussing with the Mart Dock is the softened shoreline that exists there on the western end of the property would remain soft. It wouldn't be publicly accessible, but it would remain natural. And there's actually a delineation, and I can't remember off the top of my head how far back, but so many feet back from that edge is where is as close as they could
High
get.
water mark, because there's no hardened wall there, so.
Was it the ordinary high water mark? Okay, yeah,
Thank you
okay.
for that.
Thanks, Scott.
And so my question, just out of concern and interests that have been expressed, is that if there's a change in use here, just how it's going to affect essentially the lake habitat. Again, we've done a lot of work in that area.
Sure.
And so moving forward, if this is approved and additional agreements occur, any desire or request to harden the western edge of the property would require any permitting from us?
Well, it's within the agreement that they wouldn't, so that would be a breach of the agreement. The city is not the one who would issue those permits. It would be Eagle and Army Corps. However, one of the reasons that this location makes sense for the proposed use, as you can see on the screen, the channel that exists there currently, which is used for active ports for the unloading of the salt dock, it would allow West Michigan Dock to take advantage of the hardened area along the southwestern portion of the campground that currently exists, and that's where the barge traffic would largely pull in. So.
I have one more question. So in a photo that we shared of the current Fisherman's Landing use, right? We have a freighter loading up there on the southern shoreline,
Yep.
and then we have folks using the boat ramp, and they're just shown as parked. My question is there actual space to operate the boat ramp while cargo ships are in play?
Yes.
Yeah, there's lots of room.
Yeah, there's
there.
lots of room. And also
Back there.
the I mean that is an existing condition where lakers are in and boats are coming in and out. There would not be a situation where you would have two lakers in there. There's not enough room.
Okay, so, and that was my question,
okay,
is that there
yeah.
only seemed to be room for
Sure.
a cargo ship and
Yeah.
a regular boat.
Yeah, and
It's a lot bigger than
Yeah.
it looks on the
Yeah.
picture.
But something that came up in our public engagement on Tuesday night, when one of Scott's colleagues was answering a question, noted that a lot of the traffic that would be there from their operations would be barge traffic, and those are smaller vessels.
I just don't want us to get ourselves into a position where it seems like it would work, but in practice
Yeah.
it becomes, unnavigable for recreational traffic. And so if the expectation is that the boat launch will remain for the foreseeable future, that I want to make sure that that was navigable. I'm sorry, did you have some?
No, I just wanted to speak on with regard to the western shoreline that you were just referencing. That is something that I'm interested in ensuring is protected, the natural state of that shoreline. It's sensitive ecology environment right there. And so it is sounding like it's going to be incorporated into the updated development agreement for that property. What we do have the opportunity to do in the future, because right now we're just contemplating creating the district, when any future site plan or actual PUD comes before us, we could add a condition on there reinforcing what's in the development agreement, so that 25-foot buffer is protected right there. So I just wanted to clarify that. And then could you explain, you just asked a moment ago about temporary camping. What were you meaning by that.
Just with tournaments and stuff, just where they're gonna stay.
So like
That's-
the possibility of like having RV camping like in the remaining
Yeah,
parking
or
lot.
like we do for some of the
Occasionally at
festivals.
Marquette.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
Was just the question
It-
in there.
Could be done if it were a small enough tournament that wouldn't need all of the parking for trailers.
Yeah.
So if you had a small enough tournament that they wanted to use, a bay for camping, it would have to come to the city commission,
But it would be
for approval.
They could get it
but
approved.
the commission can approve camping within parks. But
Oh,
that would be a
that's good
special
to know.
event policy and request, and so there is that opportunity.
Just know every once in a while that kind of thing is convenient for
Well,
folks.
like Harley
when they come
Davidson
in.
has done that, I think. And
Yeah.
other
Right.
folks
Yeah.
have had camping on
Exactly.
site for, events and stuff.
Okay. Yes?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, anything on this side? Everybody's good? Everybody's good here? All right, I'll take a roll call then, please.
Commissioner Willett Leroy,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Montgomery Keith,
Yes.
Seifert,
Yes.
Gallron,
Yes.
Keener,
No.
Mazade,
Yes.
Blake,
No.
Simmons,
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
Did we have a public hearing?
Yes.
Did
Nobody was here. Nobody wanted to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think we went to the phones.
Oh,
We did.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty 99%
Yeah, we did.
positive.
Yeah, we did.
Okay,
Yeah,
it was
we did.
so
Yeah.
nothing was happening. So, but I'm happy to be called out because I can miss some order of operations. So thank you for
But
that.
they can call us now if we miss them. Let us
Yeah,
know.
so there's an overall public comment at the end of our meeting as well. Okay, take a look back at the agenda here today. Don't think we have any other scheduled items. Could you pull that back up, my computer?
Sure.
Thank you. Fantastic. All right, any unfinished business from staff?
Nope.
From commissioners? Seeing none. Any new business?
No, we do have another meeting scheduled. I believe it's November 13th, so we'll have
A regular November meeting
Regular
on the
November
13th at our regular time of 4
Correct, at
p.m.
regular time.
Thank you, everybody, for making today's meeting. We do appreciate that. All right. General public comment. Now, if anybody in the audience would like to come forward on any items, seeing none, and going to the
Could
phone.
run out there.
I mean, if you have something to say, but we're probably going to take it on the dais here. All right, 231-724-6721. Excuse me. Seeing none. Very exciting vacation to get to this evening, so I would take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Supported.
I got
All in
leftover
favor?
soup to eat.
Harvest Fest.
Don't forget to say aye.
Italian
Aye.
sauce.
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
Yeah.
everybody. Thank you so much.
All right, you ready for Mr.